So here we are. Today is the first of 8 consecutive days where I'm live streaming, and I'm happy to be here. I appreciate everyone being here and coming throughout the day. And I'm here to answer anything that wants to be in the chat, like always. And yes, this is because I am going to be teaching live from home for online live poker dealer school for True Poker Dealer for the first time. This is a brand new thing. The world has never had a poker dealer school where you can actually learn at home. I'm going to be starting that. Early bird ends soon. You'll be able to get in for less. I've literally talked to somebody recently who said they drove to a completely different state for 2 months, got an Airbnb and everything to go to poker dealer school. And I'm just like, man, people have needed this for a while. My course is great, but for some people, it's not enough. And so here we are. And as a way to sort of promote this, also to be here for people, I'm going to be doing 8 days in a row where I'm here to answer questions, have conversation with people. And I appreciate everybody for being here and watching. And I see Johnny Grow lately has already put a comment in here for me. And Johnny says, I'm in. I also might need to bring you on board in a prospective Pennsylvania Delaware Poker Social Club and wondering if you had time to chat maybe. And I also feel like if this is live, oh no, this says February. That's why. So I've opened the wrong one. So let me find the correct live stream so I can just get in the right chat. He put that chat in the February 3rd one, which I guess is listed as the most recent. So let me go to the current one. I had the wrong screen up. Here we go. So here we are. All right, cool. So yeah, so Johnny, I see that you posted in a different live stream, the one coming up later, and I'm just gonna put a little message in here now for everybody. That's crazy. I did the same thing as you. I guess it has like the last one that I put as the first one that you see, which is good to remember. I'll have to adjust that in the future when I do live streams. But here we go. And put this message in into the chat. And now let me pin it, get it in the top. There we go. So again, thank you for anyone that's here. And my intention right now is to answer any questions from anybody that wants to ask anything. And I've got stuff to talk about in the downtime. And I'm going to be opening the live online poker dealer school soon, where you can literally learn from home. And I've already got a comment in here. Great. Hello, Mark. I work at a poker room that does not have a one chip rule. Oh, God. In your opinion, what are the advantages to this? So this is from Joel Gibbons 6951. What are the advantages to this? I guess the first thing that I'll say is it's a little bit scary for me to assume that that's true. It's like I trust you because you work in the poker room, but literally I've never heard of a poker room that does not have a one chip rule. And this is going back more than like I started in the industry in '07. So going all the way back to 2007, I've literally never heard of a poker room that does not have any version of a one chip rule. Um, wow, what do I think of that? I mean, it's a tough thing because it's a clear booby trap. And it's a booby trap either way to a degree, but the one chip rule is a protection against somebody that, first of all, because it's so common in the poker world, when somebody has learned playing poker in one place, that if they take let me see, do I have a black chip handy? If they take this $100 chip, right? And let's say that it's this player's right here, and they throw it in because let's actually make it a stack like this. You can see these chips really nicely, right? So let's say that this player's got like something like this right here, and someone bets like we'll say someone bets 15 over here, the action gets around, and here you this person doesn't have a lot of change, right? It would be nice for them to play the game of poker. 150 is a reasonable amount to play a 1-2 no limit with. And so if this person thinks to themselves, I've done this 1,000 times, I've seen this 1,000 times in a bunch of different poker rooms, I just want change, I'm just going to call with the black chip, and then the poker room requires them to make that a raise, uh, that is a very difficult situation and a huge booby trap for that player to be in. we don't ever really want to require a player to raise. That's the type of thing that I would say. I would actually ask you, Joel. So how does it work out having no one chip rule in your poker room? I can't think of any real advantages to it unless the thing that you're saying is that you allow players a little bit of time for clarification. Like if somebody throws a chip out, then as a dealer, maybe the entire room says, let's ask every single player that does something like this exactly what they're doing immediately. I could see maybe something like that working, but without an additional unorthodox rule coming on top of the lack of a one chip rule, I find it a little bit hard to imagine. It's not even that I feel like I have an opinion, right? Like you're asking me to evaluate something I've never seen before. Usually, if I were to be in a poker room seeing something unusual, I would be able to say, okay, so I see here's how this part of it works. Here's how this part of it works. Like I would ask you, what are some of the things that come up as a result of not having a one chip rule? And in your opinion, is it a positive thing? Is it a negative thing? To me, it feels like a booby trap, and it feels pretty simple to just sort of keep the whole thing status quo, where you're basically in line with the rest of the poker rooms around, you know? But that's a really interesting and good question. And let me see, what else can I think of related to, because when does it come up? I mean, honestly, there are the poker room that I deal in, at least when the former GM was running things, it used to be clear to everybody that you don't want to booby trap the players. And so like one of the one chip rules, let me see, what's the right example for this? Um So like there's a question of in a 1-2 game, let's say that the button's over here and you've got two over here, one over here, and um this player makes it six. Actually, we'll say this player makes it six right here. And then this player comes out with two red chips. You know, the question here would be, is this right here going from 6 to 10? Is this a forced raise? Let's say they don't have any white chips, any $1 chips, because like the raise from 2 to 6 is four, and then the raise, technically the minimum raise from 6 to 10 is also four. So if you forget about humans being humans and you turn everything robotic, in a poker room with no one chip rule, which with a one chip rule, this isn't enough to call. So this, if the one chip rule is done correctly, this would force a call, right? And then we wouldn't force this person to raise a minimum raise here. With no one chip rule, you might actually be saying to me that this would be a forced raise to 10. Stuff like that is sort of weird. Um, but also like in a situation like this, as a dealer, you instantly announce call. And I mean, I was taught in the most recent poker room that I work in that you just don't want to booby trap people with random stuff like this. So um, instead of being hardcore about every single detail, like with this right here, if a person throws in a green chip, it's supposed to be a call with a one chip rule. You're saying you don't have a one chip rule, so this would be a raise to 25. I'm saying either way, like if the player throws it out and no action has happened, nobody's even done anything, nobody's even responded, and they immediately go like 25, we've sort of taught each other aggressively that this should be forced if they didn't get it out the second it was out, because you know poker rooms have punished players for not doing it technically properly. Like we've taught everyone around us that this should be a punished one chip rule. I don't even actually agree with that all the way. Like if a player immediately throws this out and then it drops, and after it drops they say 25 and it was clear they were trying to get to 25, like I mean, if it's the wrong table to do it at, it's the wrong table to do it at. If you're new and a beginner, enforce it to a call for sure. But like as an experienced dealer, do I want to be pissing players off? Maybe this guy's new and doesn't understand. Like it just, to me, there's space in here to actually get it right without chasing players off that don't want to play in the room anymore because everyone's so tight and aggressive and nasty to them that works there. But the technical thing, like if this was a poker dealing audition, you would have to make this a call just to show that you know the rules and how to enforce them properly and all that. Joel says the dealers have to confirm with the player their intention. Players having thrown a chip tip to the dealer for tanking so long, etc. It's been an angling issue in the past. Players have to throw a tip to the dealer for tanking so long, etc. And it's been an angling issue in the past. So it sounds like the rule is the dealers have to confirm with the player their intention. Okay, so if a player throws this green chip out, you're basically saying the house rule is to get clarification, sort of like the extra rule that I was asking. Like the only thing that I could imagine making sense there. Um, I mean, I used to be of the mindset that the perfect set of rules was more important than just about anything in a poker room. And having been true poker dealer for so long and having had so many conversations with different people that work in different poker rooms around the country, um, it's become increasingly clear to me that there is no universal current rule set that makes more sense, and that each individual poker room really has its like settling in point with rules based on what the people are like there. Like for instance, in Dallas, Texas, the players are really self-responsible and relaxed. So something like what you're describing would probably be fine. The players aren't really trying to angle that much. They are sometimes, like don't get me wrong, it's not like it doesn't exist, but it's just not like when I was in Florida, the players are aggressive. The culture is very aggressive there, and deceptive, and like they're not trying to outthink their opponents as much as they're trying to beat their opponents and get money from them um, by tricking them in the space in between the game, as opposed to playing the game and tricking them within the game. And um, people's personalities escalate and get really angry and um, while somewhere like Dallas, they're a lot more calm and relaxed. So it really does depend on the location. There's a part of me that actually really likes hearing that every single time somebody does something weird, right? The one chip rule is to prevent things from being confusing. Getting clarification immediately. When I deal, I do that more than I used to. And I don't try to get clarification in the wrong situations, but like I think I support getting clarification here. It's just clarification. Here's my relationship with clarification. When the players have been trained by the poker room staff, the dealers, and especially the supervisors, that the staff cares more about the game like being run in a way where the players are the ones dictating what their bets are more than the staff, right? When when it's clear to everyone that we care about what you're trying to do and the players are relaxed around that and willing to be vocal when it's violated, but when everybody at the table can 100% tell that this player is not trying to angle, well, I'm okay with a room getting clarification. It's tough to get clarification in a room that's real tight on the rules because um, it's like, let me see. I'm trying to think of what the example is. There was a player at one of my tables in Dallas that did something that I actually required them to get clarification that was outside of the rules, because if I didn't, it allowed them to manipulate the rules into a trick. So they did something like this where it's like $6 raise, let's call it a $10 raise here, right? $10 raise, and they come out with two green chips in a room where the chips are sticky, and they dropped the chips and immediately picked one up and put it back and said, "Oh, I just meant to call." Okay. And I said, okay, so you just meant to call, allowing a little bit of leeway there because I understood that it was so fast that there was no opportunity for them to angle realistically. And if they have aces right now, which they did, this is a an angle right now to get everybody. It's like this is not the game of poker that we want people playing. Nobody likes this. Nobody likes when somebody pretends that they don't have a big hand, and the way that they get someone else like to think, oh, I accidentally put in 50, I don't have a strong hand, I have a calling hand for $10, and then the action comes around here and maybe this person over here has like an ace queen or an ace king or something, maybe even king queen or a hand like nines, and they're just like, oh my god, this person did not mean to put this in, I'm going to raise, and basically this player got them with an angle that's using the rules that we're enforcing in order to generate action for them, where then all they got to do is just finish it, right? Someone raised over here, maybe someone else called, and then they go all in, and you're like, wait a minute, that was on purpose the whole time. It's such a bad feeling to be a player at a table like that and to be a dealer at a table like that where you just set that up using a rule that doesn't foresee an angle. And so by getting clarification in a poker room for a lot of different bets, that and I have seen rooms that allow clarification, want clarification, and I mean the like I don't, I honestly, I don't know exactly how it is where I deal now because I'm only there every other month for a little bit, but when I was there and this other GM was there, like making it, forcing a player to put 50 there when it was like immediate super quick, they actually wouldn't want to be doing that in a lot of cases. We don't like to set precedents when we don't have to, that people just stick to, because then they start getting mad at other people because I had to put $50 in this time, blah, blah, blah. So by forcing this player to give clarification and letting him give clarification, his angling is actually gone. Forcing players to give clarification in a lot of cases does get rid of angling. There's a specific type of angling that it gets rid of. And it's an interesting question, an interesting take. And also, just to be clear, and I would teach this. So, like, I'm doing the online poker live school coming up soon, right? If you're one of my students and you're learning now for the first time how to deal poker, I am going to use one rule set when I teach you. I'm going to teach you to learn the rule set of your poker room, and I'm going to teach you to enforce it perfectly, because at the audition passing stage and when you're new to a poker dealing job, that's not the time to be using judgment for anything like this. So it is important to have a rule set, and then the players can just know, oh, this dealer's new. They have to enforce the rule exactly as it is. That's how it is. It's fine. Like everyone sort of gets that when they're being dealt to by a newer dealer. But overall, like having clarification at the table can feel weird, but there's also a way where it's a good thing. The problem with clarification and there not being a one chip rule is sometimes things can happen really quickly. And so you might get a player that like, let's say it is $6 here, and then this person throws a green chip. If the dealer doesn't get clarification immediately, um, it's going to be difficult for them in some cases to I guess handle this in a way where, like, because especially for new dealers, things can happen fast. Like, what if it goes 25 and then this person puts in, I don't, they don't have the chips for it, but I'm just gonna, here, I'll take this and swap it out like this and move it like this, and they might put the six in immediately. They might put the six in immediately. Now it's back to this person, right? So, like, if you don't do clarification, like, you might be over here, someone might be talking to you as the dealer, this happens, you want to be paying attention to the game, but it can be complicated right now. One second. Um, so like if you're over here and the room requires clarification, like I guess I would ask what the rule says for the room if you end up with substantial action and no one got clarification. That can be a bit of a booby trap maybe. But I mean overall, I sort of like it. Like, as the dealer, you're supposed to be engaged and paying attention and all that. Um, it's definitely an interesting uh it's definitely an interesting proposal though, right? I guess I guess for me, I would most enjoy a one chip rule with some general clarification. Um, um, one of my friends in the industry uh, is texting me right now and telling me respond after the live stream, and I mean that's true. Um, so let me see. So yeah, they one of my poker friends says that they're going to be going to Cherokee for some event, which is about an hour from me, and they're flying into Asheville, and they want to see if I can come. And I thought that was interesting, and so I decided to respond to it. It's one of the dangers of having everything on my computer. Um, so let's see. By the way, I've only been to Cherokee once. One time I have been to the Cherokee Casino out here. I've never actually played poker there. I have talked to some of the people that work there. It sounds like the people are generally pretty happy there, especially during the tournament series. And I've been meaning to go back there and talk to them more. And um, they do some unique things there, from what I understand, in terms of like how long the pushes are. And I actually sent an email on behalf of some of the employees one time to the manager of the Cherokee poker room, and um, I basically said some of the people were saying that hour-long downs were too long. Um, but they like getting the long break, but being stuck at the same table for so long can be rough or a little unfair or whatever it is. And they didn't like that much. And um, I find that I'm avoiding going there because I had that interaction with the manager. He supported himself. I think I sent him another email, and at the end of the day, like I was sort of just passing it on to him because people had been emailing me. Multiple people had been emailing me and putting comments on some of my content about the Cherokee room and their very, very, very long downs. I mean, it's interesting. When I started in the industry, some places did 20 minutes at a table, some places did 30. Then most of them switched to 30 pretty universally. Then during COVID, some of them went to 40, which I get. And then, Cherokee went to an hour. I haven't heard of any poker room doing longer than an hour. But it's funny because, private games, from what I understand, sometimes a dealer will be in there for hours and hours and hours in a row. Maybe you don't want to do that every day, but I guess it's all different or the same. Um, Joel said, especially when facing an all in. Yeah, the all in part I actually don't understand. Can you give an example about that? Like I'm picturing let me see, when facing an all in. So let's say that this person does make it 25, and then um let's see. Maybe you're saying that they only have a black chip left and they throw the black chip in there. So you're asking, is it all in or not? I'm a huge fan in this case. Like I understand the rule here. And by the way, I want to be clear about something. In a tournament, I think it's incredibly important in a tournament to follow every single rule very specifically. So I am not in favor of getting clarification in tournament. I am not in favor of um, letting anything slide. If someone puts chips in when they're not supposed to, I'm not in favor of that. In tournament, the leeway that I would give is if you have a rule that you might get a penalty for folding out a turn, like there's some situations where I'm just like, really, we don't need to care. There was one person that couldn't see their cards. Like it's a completely understandable situation versus somebody genuinely not caring about anyone else in the hand, being there onto the flop with a pretty big amount of chips in the middle, and folding from the button, to start because they don't care about what's going to happen next, and like they want to use the restroom or something. Like those are different situations to me altogether. But for the most part, when it comes to tournament, I do want to be clear and say, I think every single rule should be followed in tournament very closely, for the good of the game. Like, maybe you can make a couple exceptions with clarification for, like, if the small blind is in and then they throw there's some situations where there's already a small blind out there and someone throws a chip and it gets a little bit confusing there. But all right, Joel says, here's the example. Seat two goes all in and seat four throws out one chip and the dealer has to confirm it's a call. It's not an automatic call. Seat two goes all in. Seat four throws out one chip and the dealer has to confirm it's a call. It's not an automatic call. So let's say that seat two goes all in for like 2,500, or 2,000 is a good number. And then seat four throws out one chip and the dealer has to confirm it's a call and not an automatic call. Let's say they use a 5K chip. Um, or more realistically, in a 1-2 game, um, yeah, I mean, I like the one chip rule better there. I think it's simple. Everyone knows what the deal is. It's like I have a preference, but I can't tell if the preference is because um, I'm just so used to it. Like, like I'm genuinely so used to that just being a call. If I don't have tournament chips here, but let's say that somebody in a tournament goes all in for 2K, someone throws a 5K chip out there. Like, in that case, I'm just so used to that being a call. Um, but getting clarification, the only thing it really does is slow the game down, and you do give the player who throws the oversized. So you are encouraging somebody to throw an oversized chip in. As someone who throws an oversized chip in, you can now have two options and get a read on the table when you do that. I could see that becoming an encouraged angle, where why would a player ever throw the correct amount of money in there when they could throw an oversized chip in and always choose what they do based on the response that they might get. I also feel like that is a, if like, from a poker playing standpoint, if that's the way that you make your money, like if that's the thing that you learn to be good at in order to be able to get money from your opponents, you're not a good poker player. Like, the game of poker itself provides so many opportunities to be profitable, but man, some people just think of a thing and they just go with it. Um, so I would lean toward it's worse to have no one chip rule in that case. Maybe similarly, like, somebody makes it 6, somebody makes it 30. Um, let's say this player goes all in for 150, and then if this player over here has a $500 chip, I would also say, like, if I run a poker room where I don't have any oversized chip rule, I'm going to probably require lower denomination chips at the tables, right? So it works a lot better if you don't allow anything larger than a 25 unit chip, right? So if I'm spreading 1 2 or even 2 5, like, you can do that with green chips as the max and not allow black chips in the game. And I mean, that could work okay. It's sort of fun for players to play games with large numbers of chips. And I mean, it'd be a little weird not to have black chips in the 2-5 game, but I mean, I used to play at Foxwoods in the mid 2000s, and they didn't even have green chips in the game most of the time. It would be either cash or red chips most of the time. So if someone had like a $1,500 stack, it was all red, and that was just how it was. And it was sort of fun. Like, if you're winning, you really feel like you're winning. So yeah, I mean, if I had that house rule, I would probably also require lower denomination chips. And the way that I would do it is anytime a I wouldn't stop players from having large denomination chips at the table, but anytime a large denomination chip made its way into the pot, I would change it out for, like, if a black chip went in the pot, I would train the dealers to change it out for green, just because I don't want to deal with any of that. Um, but the real question is, like, why not just wait a second. So this is so okay. So Joel says specifically seat two goes all in for $300 and seat four throws a $1 chip out. It's not a call until the dealer confirms it. Okay. So that's that's a different, so there's terminology that already exists in the poker world. There's terminology that already exists in the poker world. So I was thinking the one chip rule is the oversized chip rule, and I was not understanding what you were asking apparently. The thing that you're saying is specifically, so there was an interesting conversation about something I wasn't being asked. I didn't realize that. I wish you had told me before. Specifically, seat two goes all in for $300 and seat four throws a $1 chip out. It's not a call until the dealer confirms it. Um, so it's a totally different type of question. So someone goes all in for 300, another player throws a $1 chip out, and you're saying that your house rule is that it's not a call until the dealer confirms it. So I've also never heard of this, and I couldn't anticipate that this is what you were asking. My apologies. Let's see. What do I think of this? I mean, I seriously can't imagine a dealer being able to quickly enough. I mean, so the first thing I'll say is I might understand why a poker room would choose to change a rule to this, because at some point somebody along the line or along the way in the poker room that was playing must have had a scenario come up where they uh, did not understand how much the all in was for, or how much the bet was for that they were facing, and so they threw a chip out. Maybe is this a guess? I don't actually know where this came from. It's just me guessing, right? Maybe they threw a chip out there and they thought to themselves, uh, like, I was calling $50, and then they're told that they had to call 300 or 1,000, and they only threw one chip in there, and they want to be able to maybe, like, not put more in. Um, wow, the amount of angling that becomes available based on this rule seems really high. Um, it's tough. Like, when I think it through, I'm so familiar with, if a player, well, here's the thing. So I've been dealing before, and I've had the following scenario come up. Player set all in a 1-2 game. They probably had about $500 total. It was on the river. Um, it was a double board bomb pot. There was probably $150 in the pot. They had about 500. They threw one red chip in, and they said all in. I did not hear them as the dealer. It's pretty loud in the poker rooms that I work in. It's a little uncommon for it to be as loud as it is in these particular poker rooms, so this type of thing comes up a little bit more. After they threw the chip in and they said all in, I didn't hear them say anything, and people do weird stuff at the table sometimes. I said $5. I announced it as a $5 bet. The player didn't hear them and didn't hear me, and they asked for clarification. Uh, and they thought it was five. I said it's five again. And I don't know if the player who went all in had headphones in or something like that. I don't know exactly what happened. So this player over here called the $5. And then they went to showdown, and this guy won by a lot. And I started just giving him the pot with the $5 from each. Then he said, "Wait a minute, I said all in. We'll take these out." I was like, "Oh, I didn't hear you say all in." Like, he tabled his hand. He tabled his hand. I said, "I didn't hear you say all in. I thought you bet $5." He said the same thing. So he's like, "No, I went all in." I'm like, "Okay, well, I call the floor because as the dealer, I'm not here to do anything beyond this point." So the floor comes over. the house rule in that particular moment was if a player throws one chip in as the better and someone else is faced with that bet, they need to make sure that they get clarification from the player apparently. Um, and I mean, it felt sort of wrong the way that it went down, but I also understand where they're coming from, where this player went all in and thought that they had gone all in, and nobody actually checked with them directly, myself or their opponent. And so in that particular case, like I could just see that there's like 100 different scenarios that could come up where the supervisor ruled that this player had to be all in over here with the call. I didn't love that ruling, but I understand that there's like a whole thing where they're basically putting responsibility on the player, saying you need to really make sure before you put your call in that you know how much this is. Again, I don't love that, but I can understand like 100 different scenarios where it could have come to be that the poker room said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm sick of it. The dealers need to get clarification. We're not going to force a player to put his money in. It feels terrible to force this player, in that case I just talked about, to put money in the pot. I understand a little bit of where they're coming from. That being said, I think that it's a really tough thing to get clarification there, because like, are you still going to be getting clarification if this person goes all in? It's a clear all in. Forget about my example. Let's say that they go all in for 300 like you said. This person throws one chip in, they flip their hand thinking they got called. Are we really still going to be getting clarification from this player after they've already flipped their hand? Like, that seems sort of crazy. I do feel like I feel like it's hard to not put the responsibility on the player to see that there's an all in here and figure out how much it's for. Like, but I also feel like instead of getting clarification when someone throws a dollar chip in from the dealer, like I feel like most of the time it can just be a call. And um I think you want to get clarification when a player says call. Like the poker that I like is when this player goes all in over here, say they go all in, put an all in button just to make it clearer, and then this person throws a dollar chip out there. What I like is when this is a call, and what I like especially is if this person says call, I tell them as the dealer throw at least one chip into the pot. But also there's a whole, I'm aware that there's a whole series of thought, there's a whole train of thought in some poker rooms about not letting someone go all in with one chip. Someone told me that in some poker rooms in California or Vegas, I forget where, they require, even if a player says all in and they throw one chip, they require them to put the rest of their stack in too. I don't know. I feel like the all in button sort of takes care of it. They say all in, I throw the all in button with the chip. The reason that I like the idea of requiring them to throw one chip in the pot if they say call instead of letting them just say call is because now they can't argue that they didn't put money in the pot. Like they can't argue that they didn't have the intention to put money in the pot. They can't argue that they didn't call basically. That's the value of that. So it's weird. One chip as a call rule is not a call unless you get clarification. I mean, it's also not a fold though, right? Like, Joel, can you just tell me what happens if this player goes all in over here, this person throws one chip in, this person tables their clear winning hand, deuce five, we'll say that this is a straight, right? And this player knows that they lose, are they still allowed to take this back now? Is that really the rule here? That seems like an unfair advantage where a player would always choose to call with one chip, right? Like, why would you ever not call with one chip if you can take it back if they table their hand, if you're a POS, you know? Like, it's not the way that I would want to win at the poker table, but the poker room seems to be setting the players up for that angle, and it's a real powerful angle. So the question is, Joel, what happens if this player who tabled their hand, because they saw someone throw a chip in as a call, tables their hand, and then this player now sees that? Are they still allowed to get clarification if this person hasn't, if the dealer hasn't asked at this point? So I'm not a fan of these types of dynamics. I mean, I want the rules of poker to encourage the game to be played smoothly in all times and all ways. And Um, yeah, it just that to me seems like a bit of a booby trap. Um, let's see. Got it. Just in case anybody's curious, truepokerdealer.com is where this link basically takes you to this the QR code. Truepokerdealer.com is where you can see everything about the live school. And I appreciate this question. And also, I should be clear about all of this stuff. Um, when I'm teaching somebody in this live school, I'm going to be using what I consider to be the most common rule set. And I'm also going to be teaching to train yourself to be able to adjust to whatever you're presented with. And it is the mark of a good poker room when you can easily, um, when you have a rule set that makes it easy for poker dealers to be there and players to be there. Like at the end of the day, at the bottom of everything, the best rule set is the one that makes it so that nobody has to think about the rules and you can just focus on playing poker. Same thing for the dealers, right? The best dealers are the ones where the game can just flow. That takes years in order to develop to that point, because when you first start dealing, like you start out, you're learning how to audition. After you learn how to audition, you're learning, you're like, oh, I passed my audition, now I deal in this poker room. But like the poker players are playing both with you as the new dealer and all these other experienced dealers at the same time, right? Like dealers swap out, swap out, swap out, and when the new dealer comes there, it's a different experience for them. It's a bit rougher for them, it's slower. So new dealers, once you get the job, you're actually training yourself to speed yourself up, to be able to do all the things much more simply. And we teach dealers not to put pressure on themselves to go faster than they can, and just know that it'll speed up, they'll speed up over time. But like we're talking, one of the reasons I don't like getting all this clarification, for example, is because it requires understanding of the game that it's hard for new dealers to have that level of understanding. And poker players, I think, understand the difference between a new dealer and an experienced dealer, honestly. They always want the experienced dealer to be at the table. It's a better experience for them. But a new dealer is going to have a real tough time with a rule like that. The new dealers with the bad rules, and I'm not saying there's a bad rule because I haven't been there to see it firsthand, but as a general thing, the new dealers with the bad rules are the ones that, like, they're the ones that you're going to get those booby traps at the table with, because um, with the rule, it requires being able to go at a certain pace a lot of the time. So yeah, Joel, I'm super curious, like what happens in this case where the player tables their hand. I can't even imagine, honestly. Also, I'm here for anybody's questions. Oh, let me see. Ultimate angle for sure. Seat four. I guess I had to scroll down. Ultimate angle for sure. Seat four says that the $1, $5 is a tip for tanking, not a call. We also don't have all in buttons. A new floor wants to get the rule changed and wanted your expert opinion for him. Oh, interesting. Now I understand what you were saying. Man, this was hard for me to follow. I do apologize. Um, the dealers have to confirm the player. So I didn't understand when you were saying throwing a chip or a tip to the dealer for tanking, that you were talking about calling with one chip. So now I understand that there's this tradition where players feel bad if they're taking a long time to think about their decision, and they might throw money to the dealer in order to uh, respectfully tip the dealer in that moment. Man, that's annoying. So just to recap, this player goes all in. We'll say that it's for 300. Forget about how much they have. This player over here, actually, I guess it's going to be this player over here. I'll give them cards. This player over here is thinking and thinking and thinking. They don't know what they want to do. Um, and they take one chip and they toss it to the dealer. or they toss it right here, and I guess they don't indicate immediately whether or not it's for the dealer. Um, I mean, it's weird. Like I'm just thinking it through right now, right? Like so as a poker manager, you're often in a situation where you're presented with a challenge like this that comes up and you need to figure out what to do about it. Um, and the question is that a one-off or is it something that needs a rule built around it? Um, I think that my answer for this would be to handle this case by case. I think that the general rule should be that this is a call if the chip is thrown here. And I think if the chip is thrown here, um, I think that if there's any confusion about a chip that's thrown here to the dealer, I think if there's any confusion about this, because it is reasonable for a player to throw a chip to the dealer. I've had chips thrown to me in cases like this. They pay time where I work, so they generally don't take that long for decisions. It's really nice. The entire room is on a pay per hour structure, and because of that, the play is so much faster. I really, really like that about the games, but still, occasionally a player will take a really long time. They'll feel bad. They might even throw some money to me as the dealer. I've literally never had it happen where it was not clear that that was for me. And so it's fascinating to think about the fact that a player would booby trap themselves in that way. What I would say is if I were running a room like this, I would allow a player to tip the dealer and just basically if it's not clear, like let's say they throw it into their calling area, um, that's an oversight on them. I would, as the dealer, I would say the rule should be that that's a call, and I would give the supervisor if the player objects and say, "Oh, I was tipping you," and they do it immediately, right? If they do it immediately, this player hasn't flipped their cards over. Like, if they do it immediately, I would probably call the floor and let the floor decide. Like, I don't think that that needs to have every single person every single time getting clarification. I just don't think that that comes up enough for that. And I think that um, if a player gets the floor in that case, then the floor can handle these types of things case by case based on how and when it happened. And like, I can't imagine that you're going to be dealing with more than 15 of these floor calls at the absolute most before all of this goes away. Like, I just don't see it. And so I would say let's do 15 floor calls total max, maybe 3 max, right? Like let's just do 15 total, maybe 3 total floor calls where the supervisors come and they evaluate. Like the dealer says, yeah, the player threw it here. He does this. He tips me when like if the dealer says, yeah, the player does this, he tips me. And if nobody has a problem with it, he's still deciding, like I just don't see the harm. Uh if if the supervisor comes to the table and the player threw it over here, like if a player throws a chip all the way to the dealer, is it really not clear that it's a tip? I think that's fine, right? Like here, especially if they say for you, like we want to teach the players to be responsible and like communicate what they're doing, right? So if they give the dealer like a gesture like this, like for you, like I get that all the time, right? Like, no, this is for you here. And then they just throw it. Like I think that's pretty simple. I just to make a rule where you need to get clarification every single time, I feel like the floor can come to the table and do a good job of evaluating this one off and not worrying about the technical rule and actually coming to the table as in like rule number one in TDA and sort of following just what actually is true and makes sense. Like I think it's a reasonable thing. Like there, but it requires like a lot of what happened. And as a dealer, if a player throws a chip and then immediately says that's for you, and there was no moment to go by, no like player at the table. If the opponent sort of gets it, if they're looking only at me as the dealer and they're doing that and saying that, like I don't think that it needs to even worry about that rule like that. And I appreciate it's took a long time to get to this point. But that's what I would say. I think this is a floor call every time. And I think this is literally the type of thing that should be a floor call every time. Like when it comes to an entire player's remaining stack, you know, $300 call, or in a bigger game, $1,000 call, or in a bigger game, a $5,000 call, you don't want your little dinky rule to be the thing that determines whether the money goes in or not. You if you have the ability to do so, right? Like the idea with the floor call is as a supervisor, and this is a little outside the scope of what I talk about a lot, but I was a floor for a lot longer than I was a dealer. As the supervisor, you come to the table, you're trying to see if there's a clear answer that's just true, right? When you come to that table, if there's a clear answer that's just true, like if there's not, you can just follow your house rule, which is, well, you threw a chip in. Like let's say that it just goes as simply as this player does table their hand after this person throws a chip in. The chip lands right in their calling area. Okay, there's I'm gonna move this out of the way. There's no confusion about whether or not, like I'll even put the deck in my hand and put a flop out with a pot in here, you know, like just to make it look right here. So we'll say that it's the flop here. If this person, if it's their turn and they're faced with an all in and they throw a chip in, they're saying it's for the dealer, it lands in the exact spot. They don't say anything. This player turns their hand over. And then after all that stuff happens, this player says, "Oh, I was just tipping the dealer." Like as a supervisor, I want to be called to the table for that case. I want to be clear to everybody, like, listen, if you were throwing this to the dealer, I absolutely love that you were doing that. It's respectful. I understand where you're coming from. However, I think that there's no way for me to know for sure that that's what you were doing. You didn't give it to the dealer over here. You didn't communicate to the dealer in any way that it was for them. You put a chip out when it was your turn, faced with an all in. Like I'm trying to help you here is what I'm saying here, but there's no way for me to do so. However, if they throw it over here and they never throw their bets over here, if they throw it over here, which people do sometimes, that's not for the dealer. That is for the dealer. That's, I mean, you can make an argument it's for the dealer, but I think those are the floor calls that as a supervisor I actually want to come to the table, because if I come to the table for this, I can help make sure that everybody understands how to be responsible. And I'm here trying to ensure that the poker that was supposed to be played was played. This player flipped his cards over because this person called, right? Like this is a very straightforward thing. I just don't think that there needs to be a house rule where every single time somebody throws a chip in, it's like, hey, is that for me or is this a call? Like, hey, is that for me? Hey, is that for me? Hey, is that for me? I mean, if you want, right? Like as a poker room, if you want to, like if the players are trained to say yes every single time, make them play with only red chips, right? And then they have to call with just a red chip, and then hey, is that for me? Oh yeah, yeah, you know. But it just it seems like creating a rule where a person can't call with one chip. It almost feels like it almost feels like somebody heard the rule that exists in California about not being able to go all in with one chip, and then they just applied it somewhere else. And this is a dangerous ongoing thing that you know, I don't think it's the right way to do it, personally. Um, but also, like, I don't work in your poker room, you know, and I always want to be clear, like you're asking me my opinion, I'm giving it to you without having, I don't even know what poker room it is. I don't know if I've ever been there. I assume that I've never been there because there's so many poker rooms in the country and I never heard of this rule. So if I haven't heard of it, I'm assuming I haven't been here. This is the type of thing that I feel like I would know if I had been to the poker room. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I appreciate that question. Let's see. Lewan ZZZ says, "Good to see you, Mark. Are you still supervisor at TCH?" So I was never a full supervisor. I supervised a very little bit there. I did most of my supervising in Florida and in Washington State years ago. When I went to TCH, I was mostly just dealing with a tiny bit of supervising, and Most people that I work with don't even realize I supervised a little bit there. But no, so I live in North Carolina now, and I go to Dallas every other month for a couple weeks and just deal a whole lot, and then come back to North Carolina. And I really appreciate that TCH lets me do that. And no, I'm just over there dealing now for the most part. And I gotta tell you, being a dealer at TCH has been a fantastic experience for me. When I go to town, a lot of the time I choose to work the overnight shift. I find it to be just so relaxing, and um there's two poker rooms that I can work at when I'm in Dallas. One of them is the original room that they built, that's in like, it's called Texas Card House Dallas. The other one is TCH Las Colinas. I mean, they're owned by same company, and you're allowed to pick up shifts at either one, for instance, right? Generally someone will work primarily at one or the other. I love working at both of those rooms. I think it's two great options. It's two totally different experiences in some ways, and then also the players are all from Dallas, so it's similar in some ways as well. But I mean, I've really enjoyed working the later shifts there, and I run into people all the time that I see from different places. But at this point, like, I almost feel like in some ways I have two different lives, because like when I'm here, I'm with my kids most of the time, and then when I'm there, like, it's as if I never left, just with all the poker players and everything. Um, oh, you say, nice man, made the switch from dealing to bartending. Less stress on my back. Glad you're doing well. Appreciate that. The less stress on your back is interesting. I find that when the equipment is good for the dealers, the stress on the back gets a lot less, right? Like, I mean, I've chosen to do this before, but I've worked more than 70 hours in multiple weeks in a row. Just because when I come to town, I'm there to work, and uh, if anything, my back gets stronger. I have lower back problems, and if anything, my back gets stronger. But also, I'm very aware that, sometimes dealer chairs aren't great. Bad cards can actually really hurt the back, because you're stuck like having to do these motions way more. So I really appreciate the cards they use. I think they're faded spades, but I don't actually know. I should know the answer to that. And just good equipment in general makes it so that hasn't bothered me. I'd be curious. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to bartend compared to dealing poker. Like, what are a couple similarities, a couple differences? I know you have to type it in, but I'd just be curious to hear that. Like, there's a lot of people I know that bartend. There's poker players that come in that bartend, male and female, and there's not a ton that I've actually known to be poker dealers first that then go to bartending. I'd be very curious as a former poker dealer to hear about that. And also, I'd be curious to hear what state you're in that you dealt poker in, because every single state is a different experience for sure. Even like cities within a same state can be a totally different experience too. But I appreciate those comments. Whew, taking a quick breather here. Um, let's see. Yeah, Joel, I'd be curious to hear what you think about what I just said. A new floor, wanting to get the rule changed, and wanting my expert opinion for him. I appreciate you coming to me and asking that. And, um, I do wish that there was better communication among the floors that work in different poker rooms across the country, and almost like a place for people to, bounce these ideas off of. I find that, there's some Facebook groups where it's poker dealers, and some stuff with the floors, but the truth is that people tend to focus more on this closed-minded dynamic. Like, I'm going into this saying like, oh, let me be open to this rule, let me hear about what it is, where I think it comes from, and then give an opinion. But if you were to come back to me, Joel, and tell me, hey, there are a couple of things about this rule that are really good. Here's what they are. I would actually listen to those. I'd be really curious to find out what you liked about the rule and what scenarios come up that benefit it. And I find that most supervisors that work in different places, sometimes even in the same room, and I am guilty of this in the past for sure. I had to unwind this a lot. But I find that a lot of floors are very opinionated about stuff like this, instead of just trying to create a better experience. One of the things that I love, I have this really interesting experience with the COO of Texas Card House. You know, his name's Victor. He's done an unbelievable job in the industry. I hired him as a chip runner and then promoted him to dealer like over a decade ago, and then helped train him to become a supervisor. And then he worked his way up and worked his way up and worked his way up. He learned a ton from me along his journey where we started together in Florida. And I've learned a ton from him since I started working at TCH. A lot of the strong rule based opinions that I used to have. See, Victor is somebody that is incredibly unique in that he needs to evaluate everything for himself, and he doesn't just trust someone else's opinion blindly. And that's an unbelievably valuable skill in a poker room, because what he was able to conclude through his own lens was that keeping the poker players happy without ruining the game is the best thing for everybody. And he knows how to do that with integrity. And I've learned a ton about how to do that from him, from the way that his room runs. And so because of that, I've decided like years ago, I am open to absolutely any combination of rules or talking points because of how valuable it's been and how many times I've realized, wow, I've had a strong opinion about this and there's actually a better way, over and over and over again. And it's like it's a little embarrassing, but if you can just not care about that and connect directly to the information and directly to the experience of the poker room and the people in it and all that, and understand like this is what gets people to come back and play. This is why they're here. They're here to play the game that they're trying to play. They're not here to care about these little details or rules that you're putting on them, right? And so I've definitely changed my way, and I wish that supervisors were more able to do that. It's like it's really hard to have conversations with supervisors when they're incredibly opinionated, because they've run into this experience in their one, you know, geographical location, and their one or two poker rooms, and this is the way it's got to be. I learned this already. I know that it's got to be this way, and it's like, well, wait a minute, you don't know what it's like over here. You don't know what it's like over here. Like I like coming into this being open. Also, because I'm a true poker dealer, I have to be open because there's so many different versions of poker rooms that are out there. And I mean, even like with the shuffle, right? Like there's a couple of poker rooms that I hear from other people that when they learn my shuffle, they're like, no, you got to learn a new shuffle. Now they don't tell the person they can't deal there. They're just like, we're gonna fix that. It's like whatever, you know. But like, you know, I could take it personally. I could tell them the shuffle that I teach is the best shuffle that you can imagine, or I could just like learn about what they're saying, right? Be open to what they're saying, learn what they're saying, and bring that information in and be open to it. Um, in terms of bartending, Lawan ZZZ says, not really much similarities, except I think the dexterity from dealing helps me when making cocktails. That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes I'll be at, like, I was at a Wawa once, and there was three employees there. One of them was going very fast with incredibly good dexterity, and the other two were not going as fast. And I know that they were all getting paid the same, right? And I thought to myself, oh wow, this one over here would be an unbelievable poker dealer and apparently bartender too, right? People don't always realize the level of dexterity required in order to be good at dealing. I consider myself to be an above average dealer in a lot of ways, and also there are some dealers that deal circles around me because their dexterity is so much better than mine. And it's like it's almost fascinating to watch sometimes. Like I'm more of like a body control type. Like I played basketball, I knew how to use my body, and I played baseball and stuff like that. And like that translates to a degree, but my fingers can't quite go as fast as some people are just completely instant. I like my speed a lot. I think I'm very fast. But man, sometimes I remember this one time I played poker in like 2005 before I ever got in the industry. I was at Foxwoods. And there was one dealer when I came to the table at a 1-2 no limit game where one of the players knew this dealer and was like, "Can you do it? Can you do it?" And the dealer was like, "Okay." They take the deck for the next hand, like they just pick the deck up. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do this. They just pick the deck up when like they shuffle the whole thing and they get themselves ready to go. They take the deck, they put it right here. Let's say that I already cut it, and it's like a machine gun right around the table. I was like, that's amazing. Like something like that, I was just blown away, and that's really cool that's the experience, and it totally makes sense. You said it's the same in bartending. You'll see some bartenders look very flashy and can make drinks really fast. Yeah, so totally makes sense. I like to think that I would be above average at that type of thing too, and not at the absolute ceiling. Like, yeah, I do like learning the dealing skills though, because they do come in like random moments. Like I can throw a card pretty accurately across the room, into a hat, and it's a fun skill to have, or into a trash can, or like I can tell somebody. I do this all the time actually. If there's a what's the example like? It's not a card. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes as a dealer, you need to give a piece of equipment to somebody like a supervisor or something, and there's fun ways to be able to throw it to them. I don't know, but I don't. Probably shouldn't be talking about that. These are things that generally speaking, you don't want to be doing. Um, but that's cool. I appreciate you answering that question. Oh, let's see. So I've got these live streams. I'm planning on doing them for about 90 minutes each time. So we got about 25 minutes left right now. Um, and let's see, anybody that's watching right now, I'd love to hear your questions. Get them in now, basically. Um, let's see. Just looking over here. What's this button? It says engage with your audience. Start a QA, start a poll, members only live stream. How about that? YouTube is just always adding stuff that I never see. Hey, if you're watching this right now, can you just like this live stream for me? It helps perform um, better. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps with a bunch of stuff. So if you don't mind just giving me a like right now, if you're watching it, it's not going to do anything to you. Just a nice little thing for me to receive, and definitely just helps improve the algorithm a little bit. Um, so let's see. I had some other stuff that I wanted to talk through. Let me see here. Yeah, so I don't know. I had a list of questions, but right now in this moment, I actually don't like them. I appreciate the question that you asked about um, throwing one chip in for a call when faced with an all in. Let's see. I actually had an old player from the casino I was at come into my bar once, which is funny because the casino is like an hour and a half away. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I used to have this experience when I lived in Coconut Creek and I worked in Coconut Creek at the poker room there. Um, like I would just run into poker players in different places all the time. I don't think I've ever run into somebody an hour and a half from where a poker room is. But also like the poker world is really small. Like when I go to Vegas, man, do I just run into people that I know pretty well all the time. And it feels like, wow, I'm so far from home. Like I can't believe how many people I know here. I'm not supposed to know anybody in this city that I don't spend much time in, but sure enough you do, because this world is very small. Um, so let's see. Yeah, I appreciate that. Uh, Worker B says, "Do you ever teach live? I live near Greensboro, North Carolina." Oh, all right, that's cool. Well, so I appreciate you asking that question. And the thing that's up on the screen right now is the answer to that. So, for the first time ever, I've had my course online where people could basically take the course and self teach themselves at a self pace how to deal poker. But now, for the first time ever, I'm opening a live online dealer school. So you're in Greensboro, North Carolina right now. You could be literally anywhere in the world, but in the US makes more sense to me. And you could learn at home with me live. So I'm going to be doing a full live school starting February 16th. And if you want to get in for a discount, you would have to get in during the early bird, which ends on February 3rd. And that live school is going to be basically you learning from me, and there's going to be a combination of using the course, and then multiple times every week we'll be doing live sessions, and I'll be making sure that your skills are up to date as you're learning. And we'll be doing Zoom calls for the whole thing, and I'll tell you how to set it up at home. I mean, this setup that I have right here is so adequate for being able to learn at home, and this is even way more than you need. And so yeah, like I will be teaching live online. And I've decided to offer this for a few reasons. One, I never wanted to teach an in-person live school. That felt a little bit too, it just didn't feel like me. But an online live school, like now that I've already taught person after person, I've been doing one-on-one sessions with people via video at home where I do one or two sessions with them, and by the time they're done with it, they've already taken my online course for this, but by the time they're done with it, they're able to pass their audition. I'm just like, oh, there's so many people that actually want to be taking my course and learning from me live. And I'm like, let me just do this. Yeah, I do teach live now. It's live online. You'd have to be at home, but you can sign up on truepokerdealer.com. And I have only 15 spots available to do this. So this is going to be the very first time we do it. This is the one. If you want to be able to deal in the World Series of Poker, this is the live school to join for me. I'm not sure that the next version that I do, or rather the next cohort, I think is the word, right? This is a school that's going to be completely done before the World Series of Poker. So if anyone wants to learn how to deal live with me, go to the website True Poker Dealer. If you want to learn how to deal live with me, go to the website True Poker Dealer. I'll be teaching you, and I am going to be putting my heart and soul into this. And like if somebody learns with me live and takes my course and does not end up being able to pass an audition, I'll be shocked. It's not guaranteed, of course, but my heart and soul is going into this, and I've been teaching people for a very long time. And I'm proud to say that this thing that people don't actually realize that you can do from home, I can teach you from home. I know how to do it. Um, cool. We'll check it out. Thanks so much. Well, I appreciate that question and that comment. And yeah, so it's funny. I was talking to somebody recently, and I mentioned this earlier, but I was talking to somebody recently who they drove to Ohio to take a school there. And they stayed there for, and they're in the process of it right now, but they've been staying there for like maybe a week so far, and they're going to be there for 60 days total. So they had to pay for the school, they have to pay for the Airbnb, they have to pay for the travel. Like, it's so much simpler than that. I wish that before they decided to do that, they've already taken my course, right? I wish that before they decided to do that, they realized that you could just learn directly with me online on Zoom. And I'm only doing 15 spots for this because I just want to make sure that, especially this first time around, everybody gets the attention that they need. So I think I could do a lot more people than that, but I'm going to start with just 15 and just sort of hold that integrity so I can get through every single person as we go, making sure that everyone's skills are up to date for each lesson that they've needed to learn. Let's see. Lewan ZZZ said, I used to do a little dealer training too before I stopped working in the industry. It was fun helping people develop their understanding of the game. Appreciate that. Um, so are you, let's see, I used to do a little dealer training. Oh, teaching other people. Right. Yeah, it is a really satisfying thing. Like, I mean, the way that I look at it is when I'm teaching somebody how to deal poker, I'm giving them the ability to get a job basically in the industry, right? Like I'm helping people go from the stage of whatever it is that you're doing in your life is not satisfying to you. Maybe you're not making as much as you want. Maybe you're not enjoying what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and getting you into a stage where you have a job that pays more than you're used to, hopefully, and also that feels good to be at, right? I mean, dealing poker does not feel good to everybody. There's people that don't care about poker and don't like that environment, and those are a lot of the times the people that don't choose to play poker, right? They just don't care about it. But the people that like the game of poker, oh my God, is this a good job for you? That's how I feel about it. Um, Captain Underpairs, hey, how you doing? Hey Mark, will at least one of the Zoom calls be on Sunday or Monday? Um, oops, this is Robert. Yeah, no, I know it's you, Robert. I laugh because it's been a while since I've seen Captain Underpairs. Um, So I think you're asking about these. Oh no, the Zoom calls. Well, at least one of the Zoom calls would be on Sunday or Monday. So if you're talking about for the live online poker dealer school, I have the whole schedule set up. If you go to the website, you can see exactly what the schedule is. And I mean, honestly, like if we get there and there's 15 people and I'm getting a particular day requested, like we can talk about that. It doesn't have to be so rigid. It just I set up a schedule that works. And if there's a need for something else, like I'm not going to leave you in the dust. Also, you'd be able to, like, if you were in the school, you'd be able to watch anything that you missed. So maybe we could find a happy medium if there's something like that. I don't have the exact schedule memorized off the top of my head. I can look at it between now and then, but I am open to whatever makes sense for the schedules. So, um, like if you're choosing to do it and you need certain days and times or something like that, like why don't you send me a message if you're considering joining, and just keep in mind for everybody, like once the 15 spots are full, it's full. Like that is what it is. So, but send me a message and maybe we can chat about and see if it makes sense for you to join, especially since it's somebody that I actually know in this world, right? Like Robert, I've worked with you and you're a great guy, and I would be happy to have a conversation with you about this. Um, let's see. So I got about 15 minutes left for this particular live stream, and these live streams will be going all week. Continuing on, and if you guys can just hit that like button for this YouTube video, it does help with the algorithm. I would appreciate that very much. Uh, and let's see, what else did I have here? Yeah, I don't know. I'll just hang out for a second. Any last questions or comments that want to come into the chat, I'll say hi to. Gave me a thumbs up. Excellent. Yeah, just send me a text or an email, whatever makes more sense for you. Um, and we'll talk about it. We'll see what works for you. But yeah, I mean, I do feel like I want to say I feel proud to be offering this live online poker dealer school. Like there's so many people that want to do this job that just they don't live near a dealer school. And I'm not saying a in-person live dealer school is bad, right? I'm just saying you guys know, if you've watched my content, you know what I'm like as a teacher. Like you know exactly what you're getting when you learn from me. And uh I mean, I think I do a great job. I know that I had the GM in the Dallas TCH room say to me recently in front of someone that I was training in the room, they told me if Marc says that you pass his audition, you can be hired in this room. He basically told the guy I wouldn't even need to audition you. But he also knows that my audition is very challenging, right? So if you pass my audition, according to him, you can get a job at their room. But it's not as simple as that, obviously, because they have to have spots and all that stuff, and there's other people that come in for auditions. But I mean, that's what he said. I want to just say like anybody who passes my audition can work in this room, but that could be too many people. They might not need that many dealers, right? But it is a service to any poker room that. By the way, when you take my live online poker dealer school, I think it's worth saying these auditions that you do with me for my dealer school are recorded, and I will give you the ability to have those recordings and send them to poker rooms if you want. Like if you do a fantastic job in one of your auditions, you can have that video and you can send it to a poker room if you choose to join. And that can save them and you the challenge of having to maybe even go there. Like there's definitely situations where poker rooms would hire you before they ever see you in person because they saw you audition with me. I can guarantee that there are some places that would say yes to that, for somebody that passes one of my auditions and they can just watch the video, because I've had that happen plenty of times. Um, got a few margaritas to make. I'll see you later, Marc. All right, no problem. Hey, I appreciate you being here, and people drink early in the day. Nothing wrong with that. TruePokerDealer.com if you want to see any of the information about live online poker dealer school, where you work with me in Zoom calls live. Very excited about this. One of my challenges in all of the YouTube world is like it takes a lot for me to create a piece of content from scratch. And sometimes the amount of work and like willpower that it takes for me to do that is something that gets in my way. Like I'm a single dad when I'm in North Carolina, and then I work a lot when I'm in Dallas, and it can be hard, but for me, having scheduled Zoom calls, oh my God, does that make it a lot easier? Like I know exactly what I'm doing when I try to teach somebody how to deal poker. Like I know exactly what I'm doing at this point. I know exactly how to help somebody get past the beginning stage and past the audition. I know exactly how to help them once they get hired if that's what they need to. And I would have no problem with students of mine reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I'm challenged here in this place, and I'm challenged here in that place, and like, you have any suggestions for me or anything like that?" Like I would love stuff like that. I also feel like I'm going to be teaching a lot more than just like traditional how to pass the audition stuff too. Like I'm open to all kinds of great conversations about the industry. Oh, that reminds me. I don't see any more questions here. I had this right here. Let me pull this up. Let me see how to get this on the screen. Great. So somebody asked me this in a YouTube comment recently. It says, I'll read it here for everybody. Can you make a video about favoritism and toxicity in poker rooms or live stream? I worked in a room 2 years ago where the table games director told me to blindly follow the orders of another employee who's only been there 2 months longer, suggesting a universal system of hierarchy of seniority. Meanwhile, that employee was allowed to talk down to and argue against an employee who'd been there for a year longer than him, a female employee. And excuse me, uh, she was the one ordered to submit. So clearly, their casinos don't actually follow any real hierarchy and pick favorites who are granted invincibility, essentially. So the requests that I'm seeing when I read this here, and I appreciate this comment on my YouTube video and this question in general. So first of all, this is something that, I would teach after somebody gets a job, right? Because this is for the industry after somebody's already been hired. This type of a idea, like the question is, when you get a job as a poker dealer, or you get a job as a chip runner, or you get a job as I mean, it could even be a waitress in a casino or a supervisor or anything like that. Like, what's it like working in one of these poker rooms? And the answer is not universal, right? Like, it's different every single place that you go. The way that people are treated is different place to place, and sometimes it's not even consistent within that place. And that's true for just about any industry. This is not specific just to dealing poker. I worked in all different types of jobs. I've worked for let me see, one, two, three, is it four poker rooms at this point? I've worked in um no, it's five poker rooms at this point, multiple different casinos. And I've also worked for like UKG. At the time, it was Ultimate Software. I worked for Thompson Financial. I worked for all these different places. And the truth is, at the bottom of all of this, the people who are managers are just people, right? And so favoritism and toxicity in poker rooms, I could talk about this. The starting point for something like this though is like, hey, is this thing that happened common, right? The answer actually is um hold on, let me see how to answer this properly. So nobody wants to work somewhere where they feel like they're powerless and it's unfair. Nobody wants to work somewhere where they feel like they're powerless. Nobody wants to work somewhere where they feel like it's unfair. Nobody wants to work somewhere where the the people that are there that maybe have it in better socially with some of the higher ups get treated with favoritism. And I have yet to work anywhere where that's a perfectly executed system. I will say that TCH is excellent compared to anywhere I've ever been. I think that there was a poker room I worked at in Miami, Calder at the time, that we did a really good job with this type of stuff. And also, I think that making it anyone's mission to eliminate this altogether is probably the wrong way to look at things. It's so hard to prove some of this stuff. Like, one of the unfortunate things in the casino industry is that the the good supervisors, or rather the smarter supervisors that want to do things the way they do things, can do whatever they want. as long as they know how to do it, right? Like I know people that are salespeople at large companies where they're making, 200,000 plus a year, and their sales managers are no different than the casino managers, right? They have their skill set that got them the job. Sometimes some of it's toxic and it works its way down, unfortunately. One of the things that I love about Texas Card House is the people that they hire are ultimately the right people. And I mean, to the extent that you can make that, you can never be perfect at anything, but they do a great job with hiring. I would say that's actually where it starts. That being said, I see this comment and I'm like, oh, I would love to help people who work in supervisor roles in different poker rooms, which I've done for years. I was a supervisor for about 7 years. I was a shift manager for a couple years as well. Like I would love to create content where I'm regularly giving people the ability to model after how to handle all these different situations in the poker room so that there was somewhere to point to. Creating a system, almost like thinking about, we had this whole conversation about rules earlier in this live stream, talking about, you know, rules can be perfect. And then even then, when they're enforced in some situations, it actually hurts things. It's the same thing with an absolutely perfect system of hierarchy. Like there's the system that you start with, and then there's how it plays out. So it's like I'm struggling right now with responding to this comment a little bit because the truth is I worked in tribal casinos and I don't know that there's much you can do about it in tribal casinos other than like tribal casinos have a hierarchy that always feels unfair. And at the same time, it's totally fair because the people that get all these benefits and preferential treatment are the people that are in the tribe, right? But then they also become the people that the people in the tribe like better, and then it's all this stuff. And when I've worked in tribal casinos, I've had both sides of it. Some of the people in the tribe liked me, some of them did not. I would sometimes get the benefits of that, sometimes I wouldn't. At the end of the day, like I had to realize I was choosing to work in a tribe, and there's a lot of history that goes into all of that. And so um yeah, it's just I am Meow03 with a hi. Hey, what's going on? It's a bigger conversation is really what I'm saying. And unfortunately, this type of stuff happens where I'm gonna hide this comment for a little bit. Where did I even put it? Um, nope, nope. Let me click on it. Yeah. Unfortunately, this type of stuff does happen, and um, it can be difficult to navigate some of these things. But at the end of the day, if you're in a poker room, which I love the idea of a conversation of how to be a poker room that people want to work at. Okay, that's a conversation I would love to have. I would love to help model. I would love to help create. And if you're somebody that thinks that you know what those answers are, I feel like I know a lot of those answers too. Actually, send me a message and send me an email, Marc, MARC at truepokerdealer.com, because I would consider doing a regular weekly live stream with you where we just discuss certain things a little in advance and then we go on the live stream and like really model it out. Because poker rooms desperately need that modeled structure. I totally agree with that, but it's a larger conversation. It's a little bit hard to just talk about the hierarchy and what's right and what's not right. There's a lot that goes into this stuff, and there's a lot of different dynamics and a lot of different poker rooms and casinos that impact all of these things. Tracy said, I used to live in Greensboro, North Carolina from 1992 to 2002. Now I live in Kingsport, Tennessee, and deal poker at the Hard Rock in Bristol, Virginia, which is just 30 minutes away. If you're in Greensboro, North Carolina, you're just 45 minutes away from Caesars in Danville, Virginia, which has a 21 table poker room. Um, well, cool. Uh, if you're saying that to me, I live in Asheville in North Carolina. I'm about an hour and a half from the Hard Rock in Bristol. I've been there before. I came in there and the Hard Rock itself was absolutely jammed with people, and the poker room had very few games going. I walked in at like a noon on a Friday, but it is a beautiful poker room. I hope that the poker room continues to get better there. Um, and I was trying to be chatty with the people in there, but they didn't really seem interested in talking to me. So I just sort of like played poker for a little bit and I left. But yeah, I'd be curious, like, how busy is your poker room now? Because I was there months ago, and it had only been open since February of last year. So you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary for that poker room, um, and that's cool. And so you're saying in Greensboro, somebody might be able to get a job over there in Caesars in Danville. We are coming up on the end of my time here, and I'm going to be here for about 90 minutes every single day leading up to the end of Early Bird. So there'll be a live stream every single day where you can ask any questions you want. We can talk about anything you want, poker related, and I'm happy to have those conversations. I really appreciate everybody who posted questions and comments and anything that they're interested in related to poker. And I enjoyed this conversation very much. And thank you all for being here. And if there's no other comments or questions, I'll give you guys like a minute or so just in case there's any last things you wanted to say, um, just to wrap up. And then I'll say goodbye and I'll see you guys tomorrow and every weekday through February 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then weekends, this Saturday and Sunday, I'll be live streaming 7 p.m. So 7 o'clock Saturday, 7 o'clock Sunday Eastern Time. Um, and there are no more comments or questions. So I will say thank you, everybody, and appreciate you guys. And